Elon Musk just bought the Awadousa Airport.
What who?
Elon Musk
What?
bought the Awadousa Airport.
Where is that?
The Awadousa Airport?
Oh, the Agua Dulce Airport.
Mm-hmm.
Good.
I was like, wow. And
Good. So what's he going to do there?
She pretty much sent me like a little clipping that they're going to put a Starbucks there. And a newly built space traffic control tower for, I guess, the charging of the cars. Because there are quite a bit of people in Acton and Awadousa that have Teslas.
Yeah?
And they're going to rename the airport.
Elon Musk Airport.
Something, I don't know. She said the name. She's told it to me. But yeah, I was like, wow. For Awadousa being a rural area, it's not going to be that rural anymore.
No, there'll be a lot of activity there.
And then Terry was saying that somebody just bought a couple acreages in Acton. And they're going to build more houses. So I was like,
good, good.
they need it. They need to figure out, like, maybe they can mix city and country. They do it all the time. Like in Chatsworth, you see horses still walking. And
yeah.
I don't know, but let's see what they say at the... I said money talks.
Yeah. So, Rosie said this? Espy said this. And where did she hear this?
I guess she reads news articles, I guess, because she was sending it to me, her and her boyfriend, because I guess they fall in that fall line.
Yeah?
They were reading it on the Santa Clarita website. I don't know if they read weird articles, and she's like, it just came out today.
Wow, we're going to have to do a story on that.
Yeah, so she said, yeah. But yeah, because she's like, Elon Musk. I'm like, who is that again? She goes, the Tesla guy. So I was like, oh, yeah. So, I don't know. Let's see if anybody kicks and screams over there. But,
well, it'd be pretty good.
Yep. And that they're going to be launching airplanes. I don't know. She sent me this article.
I don't think they would. I don't think they do any launching from there, but they might. Oh, really? Launching?
This is...
Yeah. I'm wondering if these folks, he should come online to be respectful of people's time. It's 5:30. We'll start the meeting. If Director Wallace shows up, we'll go ahead and include him. But I want to be mindful of the public's time here, since this is an off night for our normal meeting. So today is Tuesday, December 7th. It's 5:30 p.m. And I call the order the Strategic Plan Workshop meeting of the Board of Directors of the Rosamond Community Services District. At this time, I'd like to get a roll call, please.
President Rick Webb?
Yes, present.
Vice President Mary Glennis? Here. Director Ben Stewart?
Here.
Director Alfred Wallace? He's not here. Director Greg Glick? Here.
Well, the record shows that the 4 of the 5 directors are there, and we're standing by for Director Wallace. We'll continue the Pledge of Allegiance. Byron, would you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, please?
Everyone up, please. Ready, begin. I pledge allegiance
To the flag
of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, at this time, thank you, Byron. I'm going to read the public comment. So at this time, any person may address the board on any subject within a jurisdiction which is not on the agenda. However, any non-agenda matter will be referred to staff for a report and or action at the board meeting. No action can be taken on any such item unless on any item discussed unless the action has been authorized under Section 5495.4.2 Board of the Government Code. Any person may also address the board on any subject matter at the time the matter is discussed prior to board consideration and action. Speakers are requested to limit their comments to 5 minutes. It's now 5:32 p.m. and I open the floor for public comments. Hearing no comments from the board, from the public, I close public comments and I go down to new business MD1, review and discussion of the strategic plan. Hey, Director, the way I like to do this here, I'm going to give Steve, he has some notes that he had shared with us. I'm going to give Steve the floor on this here, and then he will go over the topics, and then he will go over here and he will address the topics from a better flow standpoint. If you have a question, let's let Steve present it to us, and then we will let him come back, and then he can address our questions as they come up. So with that there, Steve, go ahead and take over, Shay.
Thank you. I think what I'll do is I'm going to skip over the sections of the mission statement, vision statement, strategic elements, which are part and parcel of the strategic planning definitions. And because depending on what the board does with the strategic plan as we go forward, these may change. So I'll just leave them for the time being, and I'll come back and address those at a subsequent meeting.
One of the things I marked on page 8, the district's strategic vision, we are using our denitrified water in a beneficial, acceptable manner. What is, Greg always wants to add a couple other words to that. What is it actually called?
It is undisinfected denitrified.
Do we want to put that in there?
Yeah, that might...
because whenever we talk about it, Greg always brings that up. No, you don't want to put that in there.
Actually,
I don't know if the non-disinfected, because that's part of our permit, and that has to be the official description for any official documents of water. But for a PR point, you know,
we don't want to
public really isn't going to understand it. And even though water during its normal treatment is going through a disinfection process, chemicals are added to it, you know, as it comes into influence and things of that nature. The only thing that it's not getting the UV or the sodium hypochlorite and bleach treatment on the final effluent.
You can't see this, Greg, but I'm seeing a couple heads saying, no, we don't want to put that. We don't want to put that in.
No, we don't. We don't want to. Basically, the thing is that without going into a long deal, I think as long as we describe it as denitrified secondary water, that's good enough.
Guys, real quick, here's what we need to be careful of. We understand the technical side of a lot of this here. We need to ensure that the community has an understanding, and we don't want to have to explain something out followed by a science class. So let's let Steve do the presentation on it. Let's start. But remember, I don't want to use the word layperson, but the community has a right to know, because this is direct benefit for them. But we need to keep it, because they may not have the luxury of talking to the technical parts. So we understand, and we can get educated maybe a little bit quicker than they could. So let's just make sure when we're talking about descriptors and titles that we ensure that that's something that we're including for the community's well-being and their safety. So with that, Steve, go ahead.
Brock had something he wanted to throw in there real quick.
Oh, go ahead, Brock. No,
that's okay. I just said for clarification, if needed, we could add the term secondary instead of denitrified, so the public understands that we're reusing our secondary water without going into too much detail.
Okay. It sounds like a good idea. It makes more sense. When I think denitrified, I wonder what is that, and then Greg explains it. But secondary
may add to the same confusion, though. They may be asking what secondary water.
We don't.
I think because
how about we just say, We'll just say very good, clean water.
Well, it will be. Used only once.
Brock and Steve, I have a question, and I know that we ran into this and we were talking about that getting geared up for our seminar. We were giving our presentation, and in our meetings with the Lahontan Regional Board, they didn't want us to call it reclaimed water or water reuse because that's a different connotation. And I agree with what Brock is saying. Maybe use the word secondary, but then that could add questions. Is there a deal where we can basically say recycled water?
No, I don't. I don't believe we need. That's even worse, I think, because Lahontan, at least the staff were adamant that it's not recycled water. So I don't think we ought to. What I was going to say, however, either we can't call it new water. No, but what we had on there to begin with, we're using our denitrified water in a beneficially acceptable manner, which is a very true statement. And to go over it back and forth like this, I think we're just trying to wordsmith is all it is.
Every time we've ever read that, Greg usually throws in somewhat.
Yeah, and
Steve,
yes?
Real quick, what I would like us to think about is that whatever word we come up with, it's a word that easily, maybe not easily, but can be quickly explained to the community.
Exactly.
Something that's quickly explained to them. Recycling, because guys, we have to remember too, the community as a whole, they're looking at all these different other agencies, the different components of their water, and toilet to tank and all these different type things. And so we just need to ensure that whatever final words that we use is something that each of us, we had at the question posed, and say, oh, that means this. And we all have an understanding of it, because I think if we start getting too technical or too whatever, then we create a secondary firestorm for ourselves.
I believe you're right, and I think it's easily explained when it's questioned. We haven't had any questions to that effect, to my knowledge, since we've been using the denitrified term. So my suggestion is to leave it as it is and move forward. That's all I mean.
Okay, Steve, go ahead and continue. Go ahead and continue the presentation. I'm sure we can circle back around to that if we need to.
Strategic plan development. In this, in your notes that I sent you, we have corrections to the year and what we did. We reviewed and amended. That's what we're doing right now, is reviewing it and amending wherever necessary. And where we have the board met, well, the board of directors and the management staff in several workshop settings, which is what we're doing now, met to review and discuss the important aspects of the existing strategic plan and made necessary. We anticipate we'll have some necessary changes based on achieved goals and changes in the direction of the district. That's why this is a document that's reviewed, supposed to be reviewed on an annual basis, is because things change. So basically all we're doing is updating, changing where necessary, and giving new timelines to accomplish tasks as they arise. Moving into the second paragraph, in the second line, where it states foundational work of the strategic plan and to address necessary changes. After the last sentence, we should draft a vision statement when and if necessary after the final draft is written. That will give us all the changes, and we can do the vision statement based on what we have discussed and what we may have changed. In the district mission, as we stand today, I'm not recommending any changes to the district mission unless the board members have comments. Moving to page 8, district strategic vision basically gives us that information that we just discussed in the first bullet point. We're using our denitrified water in a beneficially acceptable manner. I think, again, I think it says everything we needed to say. My suggestion is we leave that alone. Primary goal, provide a safe and abundant, reliable water supply, still holds true, but I added within that paragraph, maintaining an affordable, safe, abundant, and reliable water supply. Affordable being the key word, and we'll be probably addressing that in days to come as far as the affordability of water. Moving past strategic elements, within the elements themselves in 1.0, I put a note in there that says to ensure the letter of credit has been refinanced to reflect actual credit balances. I put this note in there to generate discussion, if discussion was necessary, to point out what our intent is. Although we have a letter of credit, we want to make sure that we are financed at the end of our purchases, at the end of our expenditures within the letter of credit, to a point where it's amortized over a certain amount of time and not depleting any of our reserves. And additional, utilize revenues received from others to mitigate the overall cost of water production rights. Wherever possible, we need to mitigate our cost of water. Anytime we mitigate the cost of water, we're reducing or preventing undue increases to our ratepayers. And that's the purpose of that comment. 2.0, conduct succession planning and prepare for planned movement within the district leadership. We're seeing that as a common theme, not only in the RCSD, but in other districts as well. And we need to be ready to address the planned movement. We'll probably be addressing a lot of that in the strategic plan as we go through it a little bit more.
One of the classes that I went to just this last week was on strategic planning and the board's responsibility in that. And to some degree, it just said clearly the board's responsibility is the general manager, and to see the general manager carries that into his evaluations with others. So I don't know how, I'm just saying that's the way they suggested it. They were focused on the board's responsibility. The board's responsibility was for, looking for the GM or the assistant GM and not getting involved in the different departments, let's say.
And the strategic plan is a good document for the board to review during that time of evaluation to see what the outcome and the progress is being made. That's one key document that the board can use.
It basically said your responsibility to see that it's happening.
Right.
But not to execute anything.
Steve, I wanted to interject something here real quick that I really like to, here's what Byron was saying, it's the board's responsibility. I would like to see, to me, and I know to the rest of the board, it's very important that we have part of our strategic plan, language in there, whatever, to where when a general manager does leave, that, we have something in place to ensure a smooth transition, to where things aren't always, upended. You know, I mean, I understand there's going to be circumstances when you know, a general manager may decide to leave or whatever. And I'm not talking about you, Steve, specifically. I'm just talking about in general that we, as a board, we need to have some kind of wording in there to where it just ensures to the public that when the time comes that leadership is going to change, you know, administratively, that there's a plan in place to make sure it's a smooth transition and if everything, you know, goes along seamlessly where the agency doesn't get hurt and the community doesn't get hurt.
I think you're right on. Okay. Moving through to 3.0, no additional comments on the managed administrative operational maintenance needs, but on 4.0, improve community communication. I put in the notes, currently being done at a high level. I think we keep that to continue our communications with the community. And 5.0, maintain our water and wastewater systems. And the note there is actively being addressed. I got to point out that we received a lot of comment from board members with experience in some of the areas of our charge, and we appreciate that, and we're moving through in addressing many of those items. 6.0, develop a long-range water securitization plan. I put in there it's in process. Water production right to serve the community can be obtained. However, continued growth will have to pay for or bring their own water. The district can continue to purchase water from several contacts at developers' expense. Now, the reason for that comment was basically to ensure that the existing community knows that they are the priority in this district's focus to ensure they have a secure water supply. In doing so, because of the uncertainty of the drought and water availability, the aquifer, all of the things that we have to consider, we have to, it's necessary for the district to ensure that growth brings their own water, buys their own water, pays us to find it for them, or whatever the case may be, but not at the expense of the current ratepayers. Can be refined as we go through. Moving to creating deliberate fiscal resources under 1.0. And this gets into a little bit more detail than the previous sections of the strategic elements. We have the objective strategy with no changes, but within the 1.1, where we establish deliberate fiscal reserves, we have, through experience, an understanding of what fiscal reserves are necessary for. And that is the unanticipated use of revenues from a breakdown in our infrastructure to an emergency event, a catastrophic event, unforeseen events that if we didn't have the reserves, we would have to run out and borrow money. And when you run out to borrow money that you have to have right now, the cost of borrowing that money is significant. So to reduce unnecessary costs, it's prudent to have a necessary reserve to address those types of items.
And I think where we dropped the ball in the past was not even considering depreciation. We had no reserves for any kind of depreciation. And that's why
That's an extremely good point right there.
that's why the rates didn't increase, because we weren't putting reserves aside for depreciation. many local governments didn't depreciate their infrastructure, or not their infrastructure, but their their assets over the entire spectrum of the district. And now that we are addressing that and setting money aside for replacement of those assets, we're in a better position and not having to run out and try to get financing to take care of that.
I can kind of remember in the past, let's say, needing a new truck. The question, where's the money going to come from?
Yeah.
You know, because we didn't plan for needing a new truck, you know, that kind of a thing.
Right.
Steve, I have a question. You know, I understand the importance of reserves and you know, that we need to have healthy reserves in place. But is there a way of having reserves and also maybe a line of credit set up to where we had to go out and borrow money? We've already got it agreed upon at a very favorable low interest rate that can be backed up by our reserves, or help me through that. I don't know if that's feasible or not.
I understand where you're going with that, and it would probably facilitate a reduction in a rate increase. However, when you went to the line of credit, if you could get an open line of credit, which I don't think you can, even the line of credit that we have for our water acquisitions has some specific guidelines and specific draws that you can make. So the expectation is that they don't want to sit on a line of credit for 2 or 3 or 4 years at a certain interest rate and nothing happens. And then the interest rates go up. They're sitting there with a contracted interest rate. I don't know that you could do that.
Okay.
And the only difference would be the interest rate would go up. You would suffer the cost of paying interest for the money that you do borrow. And whether or not it would be efficient that way, I think is questionable.
All right, that answers that question. Thank you.
You're welcome. Non-traditional revenues. We have some assets within the district, and hopefully at some point, I think the environment has changed from banking water to dealing within the adjudicated basin. It's been relatively, I don't want to say simple, but easy to be able to transfer water from one location to another location, as long as it didn't cause a material injury to the basin. Having said that, the question remains our assets within the water bank. Should there be a willing buyer for those assets? I think the district should consider and look at the potential of liquidating those assets to mitigate some of our costs to generate the mitigation to our water purchases. So it would go a long way to doing that. Again, having that open mind would put the district in a position to not recommend rate increases prematurely or at all if in a particular year or two. So we have various entities out there that may have a need at some time in the future that we keep an open mind in discussing that as a board in general. Moving to solar mitigation, At the time of the writing of this particular section in 1.3, it was thought that the community or the RCSD could possibly do a community option of solar. We found out that it was not feasible for us to pursue. However, taking and looking back at some of the solar that we have brought into the district, we have placed it at well 9 for electrical mitigation there, at the administrative offices for electrical mitigation here, and at the wastewater treatment plant where the ponds had aerators, we mitigated that load. We currently have the new water reclamation plant going to be mitigated their electric load by another solar project that is slated to probably come online, I'm thinking spring, summer of 2022. Now, it was supposed to be a year earlier. However, working with Edison and the upgrade of their system to handle it and everything has led to some delays. But nevertheless, we're still on track. We have signed a power purchase agreement, and it looks pretty favorable for the district.
Hey, Steve?
Yes?
Steve, with all that, those high voltage power lines going on up in Mojave, up there, you know what I'm talking about, along Sierra Highway there and stuff?
Yeah.
Is that part of the grid that would be able to take any power that we have from any of our solar stuff? Because I remember before we had to stop our plans because they had no capacity to buy that extra electricity, and I'm wondering if all of that infrastructure they're putting in north of us will benefit us in the future.
Not at all. All of that infrastructure is geared to handle the solar projects that Edwards Air Force Base is building off of Lone Butte Road to the east. And that is to handle all of their load, and they're taking it to the west and going to tie it into Whirlwind or somewhere in that general vicinity, and then send that south to the main plant south of Palmdale. Now, the lack of infrastructure that, because we're such a small generator in solar, that is using the domestic portion of our grid locally in the Antelope Valley. So there was upgrades that they had to do there, transformers, lines, various things that they had to upgrade. But all that construction north is not involving us at all.
Now, I know that I talked to you about it before when we were having some power issues at my house over here, and I went snooping around down there along Patterson Road where Edison was out in force. And remember when I told you that they said that they were dropping in I think it was a 65 kW line? And is that going to be beneficial to us to be able to tie into, as far as with our solar project, or is that already earmarked for something else?
I believe all that's earmarked. It has to be earmarked or it wouldn't be going in, because Edison has taken a different approach to construction. This is my experience. And no longer do they want to have stranded assets out in the areas. So they require some payments or all the payments before they construct anymore.
Okay.
Moving to under 2.2 Management Reorganization. Ensure management movement will be facilitated and supplemented with training when upper management positions are vacated. Now, we all know these are my notes, that you don't wait until they're vacated to train, but you train before to prepare for it. It'll require upward movement of our entire staff and require us to provide more training to prepare for certain staff to take on more responsibility. Now, I've talked with the managers about, in the operations area, in particular, to determine who was willing to take on more responsibility and had a desire to move up vertically. And if we know that and people want to, we want to be able to make sure that they are receiving proper training to do so. And that's currently being done. Yep.
I circled some phrases there, some words, and I think the best money we spend is on training and more training. You've got training there, and you also say more training. Yep. And I know it's maybe threatening sometimes when we do cross-training and somebody else is learning your job, but I think that's wise.
A lot of times, as a manager, you look across your staff, and when people are afraid to share the knowledge that they have in their position, many times they're afraid that somebody's going to take their position from them. In a district our size, it's almost imperative that we have that sharing back and forth, because you never know when you may have to step into that position. And most of the time you can see insecurities in an employee when they don't want to share. They're not real sure, and it's a good indication of who you may want to turn to get more training. So it's currently being done. That's our posture right now to get the more training. Employee development, we're looking at more employees who are taking advantage of additional training, which was held up last year due to COVID. We had very little movement last year. We have more movement this year. More employees are going through necessary training. For the public that might be listening, the necessary training that we're talking about is our employees have to be certified in the various areas that they work in. And those certifications are necessary to make sure that our public is receiving the best quality water possible and are distributing or collecting and I just drew a blank. Treating our wastewaters. It's just as important to treat the waste as it is to make sure that we have a good quality water, and we have so many regulations that we have to follow that it's imperative that the training is conducted. I think you hit the nail on the head, Byron, as far as training, and more training wherever we can. Under 3.0, manage administrative, operational, maintenance needs. Under 3.2, with the consolidation of the mutual and small water companies, the district will be required to plan for staff increases to maintain a larger customer base. Staff has already begun discussing this internally. These increases will be necessary in both admin and operational areas. 4.0, improve community communication. And I might say with the aid of our consultant, Z-Axis, the district has optimized to the extent feasible the infrastructure necessary to advise, educate, and include the community on district activities. The infrastructure can be constructed to ensure sufficient information is being provided to the community. Z-Axis will be exploring videoing and meetings to be aired on a cable government channel in the community. That if it's feasible, I believe it's possible to, at the very least, video our meetings and send it to the community to be aired maybe a day or so later, and that way the community can be informed on what the board's doing.
I need a primer on Z-Axis. How did you come up with your name?
When we originally started, we were focusing on drones. So treating space through Z-Axis with the vertical axis. So Z-Axis just was speaking of drones. You know, the drone is actually an important part of what we do, but it is only a tool in our tool bag. Along with marketing, social media.
Who coined it? You did.
Thank you, sir.
Yes.
Moving on, I think it goes without saying 4.1 training. And it's our intent as a district to make available training that will enhance the board's ability to stay up to speed with the changing laws, technology, and finance needed to make relative decisions. To this end, we will see to it that our employees receive relevant and up-to-date training whenever and wherever possible.
I underlined whenever and wherever possible. And I know sometimes it's not convenient at all, you know, depending on what's going on with the district for the employees to get away. But
and I think it's important to say, because of all this training discussion within the strategic plan, it doesn't mean that we're just sending people out just to send people out. It is necessary training. It's relative training, and that we will focus on. And everybody doesn't go out at the same time, so we may be sending a couple employees out to a couple-day training, and then back, and then cycle through our employee base. Areas of public relations training will include social media. This is ongoing with the help of Z-Axis, and the intent is to broaden our reach into video. Our social media appears to be going good with the aid of Z-Axis. We are reaching areas that we never reached before. Our transparency, we try to put the information out. From time to time, there's questions about it, and we're happy to explain what's going on. But we intend to broaden that wherever we can. Media relations. This needs to be addressed in the form of, in relation to potential crisis, natural and health crises. How we report to our media when we have a crisis, if it's at the spirit of the moment. We need to be able to have a prepared comment so that the media can properly report our intentions or our actions. Crisis communications, Z-Axis to provide a training for the board and management staff. Management staff needs to follow up with line staff. And what that means is, how do you respond when the media walks up to you and puts a microphone in your face? If you don't know, don't try to tell them you do know. Direct them to someone who might know. And that is probably the easiest way to be able to deflect the media at a time that you're not prepared.
I brought up, I don't know if this is
related to what I said, but I brought up that I would think it'd be good for the board members, specifically for me, maybe I'm sure other ones do, for them to tell us the media that we're using. And, in other words, give us a primer on what they're actually doing, and maybe help me understand how to access what they're doing so I can see what the community is accessing and understand it. I am challenged with social media, and maybe it's because I dislike social media. I don't know.
I think the point on crisis communication is there may be a big crisis right in front of us, and you're the one that they put the microphone in front of. You don't have all the information, so you're kind of standoffish, or you don't want to talk to the media. Maybe it's a sensitive issue, and I would just be gracious, apologize that you don't have all the information, and the people that have the information are X, Y, and Z.
I appreciate that, but what I'm talking about is actually understanding of how it works and what they're doing. You know, and that was my thought of you actually coming to the board and having a workshop and, you know, showing us.
Video outreach under 4.3, it has been discussed but not followed through. As discussed last evening at the first workshop, Z-Access is exploring the video outreach in a form of broadcasting on government channels.
Comments, from the public, before the book and stuff, then they would have an opportunity, but they would also have it go along with talking about it. It could help a better understanding of what's taking place and maybe generate some more questions from the public.
The papers, especially John Joyce and Allen Valley Press too, they actually put some of the graphics that they have at the ABAC meeting in the paper. They just get it straight from them and stick it in the paper.
Z-Access can accomplish that task. You want to speak to that, Tom?
Actually, we've already utilized Zoom in a number of meetings that we've had, the special meetings, the public hearing, the rate increase hearing that we've had. So we are poised to do that. We can incorporate Zoom into the board meetings very easily, even before we install the physical infrastructure required for the video. We can do a Zoom meeting where, even though we don't have video of the proceedings inside, we could build a presentation with the agenda. And so even though it wouldn't be video, again, the video would not be what's going out to everyone. They would see the agenda. So each slide would be a different agenda item. And so as we go through, we bring up the different agenda items so people can see that. And we can absolutely do that. That's one of the means right now.
AMAC doesn't go into a lot of detail. Basically, they have their agenda that they put out there. But, we can also put the deal out there and have the actual document that we're talking about, just to where people can see it, they can read for themselves, they can follow along and understand, when we're talking about a resolution or we're talking about, water banking or water or any number of items that if some of the documentation, what they're permitted to see, publicly, it'll help give them great understanding because, like you say, a picture's worth 1,000 words.
What I'd like to see at some point, we're talking about all this remote viewing, which is important. I'd like for us to work on, with our media part, getting bodies in the seats when we can have them back in the district. The only time folks show up is when they're mad about things, and sometimes that's not. Sometimes if they are not showing up when they're mad, they understand, like Greg, you're talking about, if they see what we have, that kind of gives them a better background, a better history. So along with all this, I would like for us to work on getting the community to come attend the meetings. Historically, they show up when they're mad. I would encourage, and I would hope Steve, Lizette, Brock, you folks, we can start looking at a plan along with the directors where we can get people to attend the meetings so they can have a better understanding of what we're doing. Because one of the things I will always go back to, everyone was upset when we put the fees on the property taxes. And I would still argue that was probably one of the best fiscal moves that we have made as directors and as a district. And so along with all these other things we could consider, I would love for us to work on. I don't know how what's the ultimate motivator, because people guard their time like it's gold. But let's also, in conjunction with, work on a way to maybe entice, encourage the community to physically show up, because I still believe one of the best interactions I get is seeing a facial expression when things are presented. So that's something that I'd like for us to consider also, along with all these other type of things here, because COVID is not going to be here forever, hopefully. And one day we're going to go back to what resembles kind of normal. And I would love to be, when we get there, that we're able to invite the community to be there physically. And I know some people won't and some people just can't. But it'd be kind of nice sometimes when you have a meeting, you could have 10, 15, 20 people show up who are participating, because, it's an interest there, and it doesn't always have to be a controversial matter that's being discussed. Anyway, with that, continue, Steve.
Under the maintenance of our water and wastewater system, under 5.0, I did mention that it's the experiences of some of the board members in the areas of water, and more specifically the wastewater arena, have aided a lot in our focus, and we are taking that to heart, have taken it to heart with equipment purchases, preparation that has been placed in readiness, and a more proactive approach to how we conduct our preventative and predictive maintenance. Proactive maintenance, ongoing, data and maintenance, ongoing. And I've got to say, the predictive and preventative maintenance, the reason for those items is to reduce potential catastrophic failures and reduce exorbitant costs that normally come when you don't do preventative or there I go again. Predictive. If you can predict what needs to be done, you can start targeting your preventative maintenances. So those are ongoing through the district. Water security. Yes.
I guess the best way to kind of help you out there, Steve, is you can call predictive maintenance just like you called the reserves. It's the ability to be prepared where you don't have to go out and get a high-interest loan emergency basis, where if you've got your good predictive maintenance, then you can take care of these things as they come up at the most cost-effective way.
This is Brock. I would also like to add that the district is transitioning to a new billing system, which is incorporated with the GIS and the asset management system. So all of this data will be in the same location for all of staff to view, instead of in 3 to 4 separate systems that we previously had.
Hey guys, in defense of us, I'll tell you, the organization that I work for, what we're trying to do now is wonderful. I would argue that I've seen it happen, and it's taken my department 20 plus years in some cases to transition. So what we're trying to do is very important. I appreciate the effort, but I just want to let you guys know some of the big guys on the block have taken a lot longer. And if we get ours together, it's going to be a good model. Because I think when I look with us, when I hear what we're talking about it's a strategic plan, but it's also a plan for the future. It gives, the future, current directors, current staff, future directors, future staff kind of a roadmap, and that makes it really important. So I tell you guys all the time, and please don't think it's said to be said. I sincerely appreciate the effort because you folks are constantly looking for ways, and just about every time you bring a way to us, you're saving the district a resource or a dollar, and that can't go unnoticed. So thank you on that part, Brock, there. But let's always think about what we're doing today. It's going to be the future of the district. That's what we're working towards, the wellness of the district for the future. Anyway, go ahead. Continue, Steve.
Okay, under water security 6.1, the district will establish a supply of water for the community that will address long-term and short-term needs. The district will focus on the needs of the existing ratepayers as a priority. Future development will be required to provide water for their developments or pay the district to secure water for them. This is currently in process.
Steve, along with that, Steve, I have a question in regards to that. We had a meeting the other day. Would this be a good place to also include the information about for water acquisition? Would this be a good place to add that for future consideration as we move towards the long term to put that type of a mindset in this particular part of the strategic plan?
It may require or facilitate the need for water acquisition specialists to stay on top of water acquisition. And I say that because even if the district secures the water for the district, we're looking at the priority in securing that. Because we're going to make developers and other concerns bring their water, we're more focused on those that are ratepayers today. And but it's going to be necessary to watch to the future for development and for revenue to mitigate the overall cost of our water purchases today. What we do today, we can mitigate through our water wheeling tomorrow. If we're smart about it, we'll stay on top of that because I doubt that water's going to get any cheaper, and it's just going to go up, and it's going to be less available. So the more we can do, the better off the district will become.
Steve, a question on this. I haven't seen it. Maybe I just missed it. But I didn't see IT specifically addressed in the strategic plan of keeping up with the changes in that realm that are constantly changing.
That's true. However, we stay on top of that as a regular. That's almost a necessity because it changes so much that I didn't find it at this point, but we certainly can put it in there if you'd like. We are.
I'm satisfied with what you guys are doing. I was just wondering if it was just something that was overlooked or something. That's all.
Not overlooked, but it is in there. Under 3.0 in the objective strategy, if you read the last sentence, it says we must stay current on technology, processes, and legislation. It covers it, but doesn't point it all out. We're definitely aware of the necessity of that.
And we talked about hacking the other day,
right,
with the IT. Yeah.
And hacking is being done everywhere today, so we have to stay on top of that.
I kind of figured that was covered in your security issues and things like that. And but I know that as long as you've got it covered in there, and you guys are having that discussion all the time, then I don't see any reason why you have to have specific language in there in regards to it. I think 3.0 covers it well enough.
Okay. skipping down to water security, that is securing our water future, not the security of our water. Although that's also part and parcel of our technological as well as our focus on a daily basis. Water acquisition, due to the need of this to secure the water source, focuses on permanent water production rights before one-time or carryover water. Having said that, we are currently negotiating for a quantity of permanent water that comes with a large quantity of carryover water. Carryover water, for the public's information, is water that we can get, but once it's used, it's gone. So it's a one-use water where permanent water production rights are in perpetuity. Moving forward to the timeline. The timeline in the strategic plan, although I have some edits in the timeline, I would say that these should remain open right now until we finish going over the strategic plan itself, and at that time, like the mission statement and the like, we would make adjustments to that accordingly, because things could cause it to change. And I'm open to any questions.
Steve, what I would like is that when we're finished with this here, is that we find a place in the district where the community has access to, and we put it up there, and perhaps, of course, have it on the website. Because I think the important part of this here is that we can talk about strategic. The community needs to know that this is to their benefit, and this is why we're doing this. So I'd like to, when we finally finish this out, ensure that we get it posted, on the website at the district, and then the other parts too, because a lot of times when you make things available for people to see, you get other parts to it that can help make it better. Because we get what we get here, but I would challenge if there's probably other places or people in the community that have bits and pieces that can also help us to find out this a lot more. So I'd definitely like to see that made available. That's number one. Number two, I'd like for us to look a little bit more into this water acquisition type of a thing there. However it's going to morph, whatever it morphs into, means something that is there, because, now they're talking about, this water concern, this water issue could be going long term. And I don't know what that means by their standards, but the State Water Board, this morning while I was listening to the news, they're talking about now, being involved in penalizing people for overuse of water. So that means that it's all for real. So I'd like for us to look at this water acquisition, type of heading, and give that a little bit more life than just a title and just a line. Let's start seeing if that can become something that can become an integral part of our long-term strategic operation. So I'm good on that. If any of the other directors have anything, go ahead and chime in, folks.
I think that in having that in the lobby available for a walk-in when we open up again is very easy. With one caveat, if we go out on the website or in email, however we get this out to people, there should be a disclaimer on there that it's subject to amendment or change, and it's not just a solid document.
For years, and the wording and everything just sounded great. Like, we recognize that people are going to be here forever, and having backups for positions is a great thing. Because there might be somebody that loves the district but wants to take that next step and go to some other place, but they feel that obligation, that responsibility that, I can't leave you guys hanging. So I think the training and the succession plan that you guys talked about, it sounds good. It sounds like we're going in the right direction. So thank you very much, Steve. I think you and the staff have definitely listened to some of the things that we have brought up, and we're going in the right direction.
Thank you. Any other directors have anything they'd like to add? Steve, is there anything else that you'd like to add to the presentation?
Nothing to the presentation, but what I will do is I'll go back through it and incorporate some of the intents and the discussions that we had and the notes that I've taken from the comments you've made, and work on the timeline and get that back to each one of the board members to review and hit me with or the staff with the other comments that you might have, and then we'll schedule it to bring it back to the board for adoption.
Okay, Brock or Lizette, you guys have anything you'd like to input to this before we go offline?
I have nothing to add.
Brock? Okay, hey, guys, I know we've kind of worked on this, and I know that the bad word of the day is COVID kind of slowed us down, but I think long term we're working in a good direction. So I think that, and what I'm hoping, Steve, is that when we're done with this here, whoever walks in behind us, be it GMs, new staff people, new directors, they know what the intents were and they know where we're headed. And this stuff is easily applicable to what they want to do, because I remember when I became a director, some of this stuff you got to learn on the fly. But sometimes it's kind of nice to say that's where they want to go. That's what they're trying to get to. So with that said, if there's nothing else from the other directors, we'll close the workshop. And can I get a motion for an adjournment?
So moved, Byron.
Do we have a motion by Director Glenn? Can I get a second?
Second, Director.
Who we second by?
Wood.
So we have a motion by Vice President Glennon. We have a second by Director Wood for an adjournment. Can I get a roll call vote, please?
President Rich Webb?
Yes.
Vice President Barry Glennon?
Yes.
Director Beth Stewart?
Yes.
Director Greg Wood?
Yes. Where the records reflect that we had a 5-0 vote for an adjournment. It's now 4. I'm sorry, folks. 4-0. It's now 6:37. And don't forget, guys, tomorrow we have a regular board meeting. Everyone stay well, and I'll see everyone tomorrow. Good night.
Good night.